the most humiliating reason you've ever heard for a teenager to be expelled from school for? Story 1. My friend was suspended because he was being pantsed continuously one day. After the 4th or 5th time, everyone realized he was just pulling his own shorts down quickly in hall between classes. Story 2. When I was 17, I had to write a paper about what I would do if it was my last 24 hours on Earth. Being a jackal's I out things like blow stuff up and rob liquor stores. Well, my teacher thought I was serious and turned the paper into the principal, who turned it into the police. I got charged with a felony for threats of terrorism and expelled for 6 months. Not really embarrassing, I guess, but funny nevertheless. Story 3. Not expelled, but suspended. Stupid boy mucking around in art class. Teacher has had enough of it and sends him to sit in the art cabinet on his own for 10 minutes. In most Australian schools, the art cabinet is a small walk-in cupboard with a sliding door. After 2 minutes, the teacher feels mean for sending him in there, and goes in to check on him. He's got his pants down around his ankle and is having a, continues to do it as the teacher is screaming and the whole class can see him through the now open sliding door. He is now well known around the area as the Phantom Puller. This boy is not mentally handicapped in any way, just a full-on idiot. His dad has been friends with my dad for a long time, and naturally he is one of those boys who has developed a long-time crush on me. We are now 22 and he still manages to find me whenever I return to my hometown with his, taking friends egging him on. Story 4. When I was in high school, I think my sophomore year, there was a senior who was expelled and not allowed to attend graduation because of a tiny pocket knife keychain in his car. It was one of those little freebie ones. At the time I believe they came with a particular multipack of film, about 1.5 inches long with a keyring, and containing only a single blade and a nail file. I think it was barely usable as a letter opener. The guy had one, its ring connected to a bunch of other random keychains, in a pile on the dashboard of his car. The dean happened to be walking through the parking lot and saw it, figured out whose car it was, and he was expelled for having a knife at school. Same year, earlier on, someone was expelled for a short piece of scrap copper pipe found in his locker, a leftover from some kludge repair head done to his car. It was considered to be drug paraphernalia. Zero tolerance is horribly stupid. Story 5. When I was in junior high, we had a large Hurricane Gloria which hit our town, and due to electricity being out, trees on the roads, flooding, etc., we were off of school for 2 weeks. My vacation was 2 weeks plus a day, since I was sent home not expelled for wearing a homemade shirt that said I was blown by Gloria on my first day back. Story 6. We had 2 kids a few years ago who were caught having on school grounds. Nothing really that abnormal except that they did it on the school oval in the early hours of the morning and were supposedly caught by the school priest. The priest in question lives on the school grounds and likes to go on walks in the early morning. Can you imagine the conversation that ensued? Story 7. I got suspended for 3 days for this. When I was 14 or 15, we had an art project where we had to pick basically any recognizable person, celebrity, sports player, etc., to paint in a certain style. One of my good friends decided to pick Eminem, so when we were in the computer room that lunchtime, he was Google image searching for a good pick. He stumbled across a picture of 2 people doing it, except Eminem's face had been photoshopped onto the guy's body and Britney Spears onto the female's. This was hilarious to us teenage boys, so as a joke my friend pressed CTRLP, pretending he was going to print it, and changed the copies to 500. I leaned over and pressed enter. We scarpered out of there when we realized they had started printing and we couldn't stop it. At the end of lunch, a teacher roared my name from the other end of the corridor and I obviously immediately knew why. Got taken to the waiting room by the headmaster's office and my friend, who had been using that computer, was already sitting there. Went into the headmaster's office and we were both trying to stifle laughs as we saw the huge pile of paper on his desk. My friend explained fully why he was looking for pictures and that he had genuinely stumbled upon it by accident. The headmaster wouldn't believe him, as my friend had used someone else's account to use the internet. Due to his not working, IT continually doing nothing to fix it, and someone figuring out that with some people's usernames you could put the password as password and it would still let you in. This meant our headmaster thought he had done it deliberately and was trying to get the other kid in trouble. Best part was, our posh, English headmaster saying, "Who is Eminem?" And I leaned forward and pointed to the guy plowing Britney from behind and said, "He is." My friend burst out laughing and we were both given 3-day suspensions. My parents weren't impressed, but it was worth it. I've tried searching for this picture since, but have never had any luck. If any of you can help a brother out, he'll love you forever. Update. Ubercat52 is my hero. Edit. In case anyone was wondering, I picked The Undertaker, but unfortunately I didn't find any pictures of him having. I went to a Protestant school in Australia. My very good friend had just died from bone cancer. My girlfriend was comforting me and hugging me as I was crying my eyes out. A teacher came past and told she to move away as there was a no-touching rule. My girlfriend nicely and calmly explained the situation to the teacher, who responded by explaining that she was not concerned by this. I subsequently told her to get. I was marched up to the principal's office in front of all my mates. A crying, blithering mess where I was told I would be taking a week off school due to suspension. Edit. The reason I was at school was because he had been in hospital for over a month and I was only made aware of his passing in the bus trip in. This all occurred before the school rang for first period. Story 8. In 8th grade, an older cousin taught me how to play craps. Like an idiot I started running a casino-like thing at lunch. Anyways, I got caught with a massive bag of money and was suspended. My school had a policy that if you were suspended and got in trouble again you would be expelled. About a month later I jumped in and puddle and was sent to the principal. They wanted to expel me, but my parents argued it would ruin my future as I had a perfect academic record. Ended up narrowly escaping expulsion for jumping in a puddle. Story 9. This kid in 8th grade, I was a freshman in high school but we all knew him from middle school, was on one of those free webcam sites chatting with girls and was fapping in class. The teacher was newish, probably her second year, and she was probably 25 years old, and when she saw his computer screen she apparently broke down in tears. Kid got expelled quick. Edit. I like all the theories but I really can't answer. I have no clue why she cried. Story 10. A girl that was in 9th when I was in grade 10 was expelled for giving head to 3 guys at the same time in a dark auditorium during first block, and on more than one occasion. Story 11. I haven't been in school for nearly a decade, mind, but I almost got suspended for using an inhaler for an asthma attack. I had a sudden attack and started to collapse, reached for my inhaler and found it wasn't in my pocket. A friend of mine handed me his exact same medication, and we knew this for a fact, and it probably saved my life, or at least saved me a trip to the ER. Then I got called into the office and reprimanded. No one bothered to check on the state of my well-being, and so I demanded a call to my mother, who is a nurse. Her response was, yeah, she's supposed to have an inhaler, she used SOAS. Well, then she knew it was the same medication. They still didn't like that, and then forbade me from carrying around my inhaler in the future, saying I'd have to come to the nurse's office to use it. Keep in mind that I was an older teenager at the time, not a child incapable of handling dosages, etc. I dutifully ignored that and carried my inhaler with me, because I'm not a Story 12. Student wasn't expelled, they made him switch schools because he's a high achiever. He said he was tired of all of the born-agains teasing him for being an atheist. He also dressed pretty provocatively, in their eyes, so he crucified a baby pig and put it in their prayer spot on campus. Edit. All expulsions in CA by law you switch schools within the district. He was achieving, so they didn't send him to the expulsion school that lets out at noon. Story 13. In 5th grade there was a classmate of mine, and she was not somebody who bowed to peer pressure. She started intentionally wearing obvious mismatched socks as a sign of her individuality. She was very quiet and did not have many friends. Our teacher noticed the mismatched socks and after a week told the girl to wear matching socks. Keep in mind I am 61 years old and this was a very rural public school back in the day. Well, the next week the girl again was wearing mismatched socks and the teacher sent her to the principal's office. The principal told the girl to write 500 times, "I will not wear mismatched socks," and sent a note home to the parents. The next day the girl again wore mismatched socks and the pages she was told to write said, "I will wear mismatched socks." The principal was not amused and suspended her for a week. Now I did not know the girl very well, but I sure liked her spirit. I organized a protest of the students to support her. The next morning there were 92 of us standing in the schoolyard, and despite all threats we refused to enter the school until the independent girl was allowed in and able to wear mismatched socks. Parents of students were called to come to the school and pick us up because we were all suspended as well. When parents found out what all the ruckus was about they were very angry with the teacher and the principal. Our school did not even have a dress code. At the end of the day the principal caved and gave in to our demands. By junior high school her family moved and I lost track of her. But that day we stood up for her, changed her, and she became more outgoing and made new friends. Story 14. I didn't get expelled but I did have some very embarrassing accusations thrown at me by a teacher which got me in a lot of trouble at home and school. One day I came home from school 8th grade I think and my bedroom had been turned inside out and all of my video games had been opened up with the discs all over my desk. I asked my mom what happened and she started yelling at me about how games like Grand Theft Auto were messing me up. I did not own a copy of GTA, I mostly played JRPGs at the time. Apparently one of my teachers had called up and said I was drawing pictures of people being raped during class. Where this came from I have no idea. I even showed my parents and the teacher all of my notebooks to prove that I had done no such thing. Yes, I doodled a lot in class, but nothing that could be interpreted as in any way. I think I went back through my notes and discovered I was drawing Frog from Chrono Trigger the day this accusation was made. The teacher implied that video games were turning me into a rapist, hence the thorough search of my bedroom by my parents. I guess I am just really bad at drawing. Story 15. A line outside of the men's bathroom for free blowjobs. There must have been 15 to 20 people in line once they found out it was going down. She was new to the school and I guess wanted to service the boys. She was expelled right away. Her nickname Roboho. Story 16. When I was 15 I was a high school stoner. One day it was -23 without the wind chill and me and this other guy decided to smoke our water bottle bong in the bathroom to keep from having to go way out back. We go into the sketchiest bathroom in the furthest corner of the school and into the handicap stall. We had all the smoking stuff out. I had the water bottle, he had the stem and bowl. We each had our own weed. As we start putting it together the principal knocks on the stall door and says, "Come out boys, I know you're in there," so I crush the water bottle and he hides his paraphernalia. I put my weed in between my and my sack and he put his up his sleeve. In the office we were put in separate rooms. He was interrogated first. While that was happening I hid my weed in the bottom of a filing cabinet. During his talk with the authorities his weed was found. They brought the school's cop in and searched my pockets but found nothing. Catholic School 2003. I was suspended for being in a bathroom stall with another boy. He was expelled for the same offense but because it was a recurring thing for him, they also sent him to rehab for weed. Story 17. In cooking class a girl was flipping a knife around for God knows why and lost her grip. ended stabbing herself smack dab in the nether regions. She had suspended for violation of some safety rule or something, but it must have sucked. TLDR knife and edit popped my cherry. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. Story 18. My brother's friend prank called their teacher while my bro was at his house. The kid ended up getting found out. My brother went in and told them he was there. They would never have known either without him admitting it. As a reward for his honesty, he was suspended for 6 days and had to clean the school. Story 19. Not expelled but suspended for 2 weeks. The person was accused of bringing fireworks and bangers into school. It was party poppers for celebrating their friend's birthday. Edit people seem confused by banger. It's what we call them in Ireland. I guess the American equivalent would be firecrackers. You light them and they make a loud bang. Hence the name. Story 20. A guy at my school got expelled and arrested for photocopying dollar bills onto regular paper and trying to use them in the cafeteria. They also found a garbage bag full of them in a dumpster by his house. Story 21. I almost got expelled, if that's the right word, from our university. Our engineering curriculum was designed in such a way that for the first year you were in a large group for a bunch of classes together, meaning you'd have Calc 1 Physics, Engineering 101, etc. all with the same group of students. It promoted teamwork or something. Anyways, one of our classes was over 2 hours long, so we got a break halfway through. Usually me and my 2 friends would hit up the snack cart and shoot in the hall until we had to go back. Never thought much of it. One day we're in that same class and 4 university police officers burst into our class and go you 3, with US now slightly embarrassing, especially since we had no idea what was going on. We follow them and they start berating and questioning us about why we were making fun of a fellow professor for being gay, if we knew this was a hate crime, if we knew we could get expelled for it. So, we're shitting our pants, we don't even know what they're talking about. The professor in question comes out, confirms it was definitely the 3 of us, and now we have to meet with the real police later in the day as a form complaint is being charged. Before I continue, let me state that we absolutely weren't making fun of this guy. Truth be told, we never paid any attention to him and certainly didn't know or make fun of him for being gay. Me and one of my friends were old friends from elementary school, while the third was a new friend. I asked my friends if they wanted to talk to the guy privately and only my old friend wanted to. We went to his office and asked to speak with him. We explained the situation, saying that if we had inadvertently said something about homosexuals it was merely an accident and not directed at him. We told him we were truly sorry and meant no ill will. We then asked if we could shake his hand and settle this. He agreed, but he did not agree to cut the third friend loose. He said it was really him that was saying the stuff anyways, and we were just a part of it. We could tell he didn't believe us, but he told the police to not involve us and only charge the third. The third friend ended up having to take a hate crime class for the entire semester, meet with mediators the entire semester, and was put on academic probation. Story 22. 2 kids, guy and girl, were expelled from my private school for giving oral in one of the staircases. The whole thing was recorded on video and shown to the students' parents. The parents had to sit and watch their kids give oral with the superintendent and dean of the school. Edit. I have no idea if this is considered child pornography or just evidence in case the kids who were expelled decide to sue the school. Story 23. This was my suspended, not expelled during high school. I took an AP Advanced Placement European History class. This class was second semester and was filled mostly with seniors who had already applied and gotten into college, or not, and a few sophomores, one of which was me, and juniors. Now, this class was a joke. Not because the content was easy, but because the teacher genuinely didn't care. He was older, had a daughter in the class, had been teaching for a long time, and had one of those voices that just puts you to sleep. In his class everyone cheated, but not in the standard way, writing answers on your hand, notes under the desk, etc. Someone, usually a senior, would tell the teacher a week or so before the exam that they needed to take it early because of vacation or a doctor's appointment or what have you. They would take this exam out in the hallway during class and would get their grade back right after class while the teacher took 5 minutes to grade it all multiple choice on a Scantron. The senior would then copy down all the answers and give it one person in the class, who would give it to another, who would give it to another, and so on until everyone in the class had the answers to the next exam. This went on like clockwork for most of the year. Now, we weren't stupid. Most of us would miss questions on purpose so as to not raise suspicion, but the questions we did miss could be corrected for half credit after the exam, so if one of us got an 80,100 on a test we could do test corrections and get a 90,100. One day, this was me, I got a 90 on an exam, so I stayed after class to do test corrections in order to get a 95. My friend was also with me doing test corrections after class. While we were studying and finding the correct answer in our book, the teacher leaves the room. After a couple minutes my friend stands up and walks over to the teacher's desk. There, right on top of the clutter, are the answers to the next 8 exams plus the final. My friend informs me of this, and although I admit I had doubts that this was a good idea, I said it and helped him copy down all the answers. During this rush, a student walks in, an Asian girl from our class who was there to do corrections as well. We all knew her. She was extremely smart, quiet, and had already been accepted to Harvard. She would never participate in the cheating. We see her, she immediately knows what we are doing, and my friend asks her to be the lookout. She stands there, paralyzed, and just runs out of the room. Now, at the time we didn't think anything of it. We keep copying down the answers and finish before the teacher returns. The next day my friend goes on vacation with his parents, and I decide it would be a good idea to make copies of the answers and sell them to the students in my class. At lunch, I proceed with this idea, and after I finish I walk to my normal third period Spanish class. I'm in there for no more than 10 minutes when the principal of the high school walks into class and asks for me. My heart stops. I had known I got caught, but I didn't know how. I follow him into his office, and sitting there is the Asian girl, in tears, and my AP European history teacher. She looks at me, face completely red and wet, and keeps repeating "I'm sorry." I looked at her, eyes wide, scared, and didn't say anything. The next half hour was a blur. There was a lot of crying from me and her. I thought I was going to get expelled, but I ended up getting suspended for 3 days, same as my friend. I call my parents to tell them what happened. My mom is crying, and all my dad says is, "I'm disappointed in you," which is literally the worst thing a dad can say. He was raised in a devout Catholic family, oldest of 11, and a hard ass. He would never beat me, but if I would most likely see the back of his hand. This time, all he said was that he was disappointed and that I made my mother very upset. I call my friend who is in Hawaii, tell him what happened, and he hangs up the phone and ends up serving his suspension later after he returns. One would think the teacher, knowing what had happened, would change the answers to the next exams. I knew he would. Could he really be that lazy not to? He didn't. I kept the answers we had stolen and ended up getting an 85 on the next exam. I finished with an A in the class and was able to get the suspension dropped from my record so colleges would not find out about it. Every student had this opportunity once if they got suspended. After the suspension I turned my life around a bit. I went from being a kid that had a lot of UPS running a car into a garden with endangered bushes is one of them. A story for another day, I guess, to buckling down in schoolwork internships and focusing on what really matters. I consider it one of the biggest turning points in my life. Edit spelling. Story 24 TLDR. I was falsely accused of arson and expelled for it. Junior year, I picked up a dirty cigarette habit. Kids smoked everywhere on school grounds, end of the science hall outside, hopping out the giant windows in video class and smoking in a corner, and in the locker rooms. Administrators tried to catch kids, but they rarely ever did. Our hall's science wing, art wing, etc., connected outside via paths around the school perimeter, so it was a circular race when an adult was coming. At any rate, our lunches were broken up into A, B, and C lunch with our 4th hour scheduled accordingly. I was B. After the first half of algebra, I go to lunch with a friend named Jenny, yes, her real name. We sneak off to go have a smoke in the upstairs locker room in the gym. We go back into the unused dark showers, which are maze-like, to the turnhole air vent we blow our smoke out of. After we're done, we take our still-lit butts and rinse them under the faucet, wrap them in paper towels, and toss them in the trash. After I had finished my process, Jenny started, but someone was quickly coming up the stairs. She rinsed her butt and tossed it in the trash. We booked it down the back staircase, outside, around the video hall to the science doors, and slipped in, perfumed up and washed hands, went back to class. 10 minutes later the entire school is evacuated. Fire department arrives and we watch them hurry up the back stairs to the locker room. Oh. As you can guess, her cigarette didn't hit the water in our hurry to retreat. It caught the trash can on fire, the paper towel dispenser, the trim, and then spread to the wooden stalls in the toilets. We were named by the parking attendant, saying she saw us cut across the parking lot where the locker door had been, and run toward the video hall. She did not see us come out. All evidence they had was circumstantial. As everyone was filing inside, a police officer quickly grabbed my arms from behind and cuffed me. In front of all of my friends and many others, I was walked to the principal's office. He then accused me of smoking. I emptied my pockets. I had no smokes, lighter, matches, etc. I asked what it was about. He insisted I already knew. Obviously I did, but I'm not buckling. I knew what sort of trouble I'd be in for having the fire department come, no matter how big or small the fire, so deny. When he said the sentence, "You're being expelled for arson," he sat back and stared at me, eyes glazed and completely deadpan. Gauging my reaction, I was speechless. What me? I may have been a smoker. I skipped classes several times, but had never been in serious trouble before. I had good grades. It took me about 2 minutes to process everything, kind of asking trailing off questions and gaping at him like a fish on land. There was a hearing for both of us in front of the school board. Even though they found cigarettes and a Zippo on Jenny, they threw me under the bus when she went after me and confessed, but she took it a step further. Not only did I deny we were both in there, but she put me there and said I lit the paper towel dispenser on fire. It made a big fuss locally, and no school would take me in to finish a year and 3 months of high school. I applied at an alternative high school to have the assistant principal tell me they don't educate pyros. 6 schools total denied me, done even adult high schools. I was finally accepted 8 months later and graduated with high honors. I lost many friends during it all. A few years ago several classmates invited me to the graduating class page of my school. Even though I finished my last year somewhere else, I had known all of these people since kindergarten. The admin of the page removed me and sent a write email about how I was an alumni and never would be. She tried to friend me on Facebook after she got out of jail for something unrelated. The request has been sitting there for over a year, Jenny. I was expelled from school because I got on MySpace and told an internet friend that I wanted to put my bully in the hospital. Beat the out of him. Well, her mother sees that threat 2 weeks later and notifies my school, and I was kicked out for threats of terrorism and was told to never come back to that school. Honestly, I never touched the guy in and didn't plan to. I was just venting out my anger because the school never did a thing when I told them I was being bullied. I don't talk out loud about my emotions anymore because that little vent up my life. I was 14, I had no other school to go to, so I waited until I was of age and got my GED. Life has been a struggle because of that, but I learned my lesson at least. So yeah, when I meet people and the subject of school or anything related to that subject comes up, I have to explain that I was kicked out of school because of what I said on MySpace. The humiliation kills me every time. Story 25. A girl in my school wasn't formally expelled. However, she was shamed into homeschooling. Essentially, she gave this one dude a BJ, went and bragged about it, and then when everyone called her, she changed her story and called it assault. The guy almost got expelled for assault too. Story 26. My dad used to be a school administrator, and he had heard of a kid that moved around a lot. I can't remember his name, so we'll call him Spencer. He was a special needs student and was in constant need of supervision, but he was put into the school system without one for a time. There were many stories of Spencer's adventures that my dad heard about. I'm not sure if he was ever expelled, but hey race, a few my dad told me. I'm gonna be seeing my pop in a few days, and I plan on asking him about Spencer again. Spencer was a self-harmer when he got frustrated, excited, embarrassed. Pretty much anything that wasn't normal for him led to him hitting himself in the head repeatedly until you forcibly stopped him. Once he got into himself on hot dog day, so naturally he smashed his hot dog on his head a good 8 or 9 times until the hot dog was completely gone. Dad said he would make direct eye contact with people while did this. During a field trip to the University Aquatic Center, Spencer was told not to dive off the top diving board, so of course that's the first place he heads off to. He jumps, people cheer, and he heads off to the top board again. Spencer realizes the kids are making fun of him, so he whips out a handful of pennies from his shorts, not swim trunks, but shorts he didn't own, swim trunks, and tosses them into the pool, and then pull his shorts down and starts peeing himself. Again he does the slow gaze of everyone watching until he locks his gaze on the lifeguard shouting at him. When the lifeguard approached the diving board to remove him, Spencer jumps in the pool while still peeing. Spencer loved bugs. Like seriously loved bugs, but kind of like that Looney Tunes character that loves them and hugs them and then squishes them to bits. Only problem was Spencer would become very distraught once he realized he killed his new pet. This lead to more head smashing. Spencer was caught many times pooping in the urinals. Spencer got teased in the playgrounds by a school bully. Spencer took in his hands and threw it at the bully. Spencer brought a dead rat to show and tell. Spencer found some pliers laying around at school and tried to remove his front tooth, claiming he wanted money from the tooth fairy. Spencer would always have his shoes on the wrong feet. When someone would go to put them on correctly, Spencer would put up a fight saying he liked them like that. Spencer gave a girl in his class a G.I. Joe figure because he liked her. He had chewed the head almost off. Spencer would constantly have his hands down his pants. Combine this with his deadlock stare and things got creepy sometimes. Spencer would try to steal other kids' shoes while they were still wearing them. There's more. I'll add to this over the weekend. Man, I wanted to meet him. Edit spoke with my sister this afternoon. Wonderful catch-up session, and I mentioned Spencer. She had a few I forgot about, as mentioned Spencer loved bugs. He knew he wasn't allowed to bring them to class, so hey Ray, Spencer's solution: hide the bug until he could put it somewhere safe. He hid the bug in his mouth. All class he's silent, which is odd. No outbursts, no crying, just Spencer sitting normally with his hands occasionally going into his pants. The teacher commends him for being so quiet. No reply. Something wrong? Spencer shakes head. What's in your mouth? Spencer was put in detention after class. He was especially dirty that day. The teacher comes to talk to him and Spencer is sitting obediently and smiling. He found a glue stick and used it to slick his hair back. The next day he comes to class with a shaved head. She also mentioned he had a thing for used gum. He actually liked it better than fresh gum, so he would chew it for a bit, then stick somewhere and come back for it later. Only his reasoning was that if he found gum stuck somewhere, it was obviously his that he forgot about. Apparently Spencer, "Don't eat that," was a popular saying in the classroom. Second edit: this is probably buried by now, but back from my parents now, and I got few more. One of Spencer's clever moments: Spencer once took a short nub of pencil, sharpened it to a point and stuck through the hole of his ruler. When his neighboring classmate came back from the bathroom, Spencer snuck the pencil under his. It went about an inch deep and the kid got lead poisoning. Spencer had an accident while riding in the back of the school bus, causing all the kids to retreat to the front in sheer calamity. From then on Spencer was forced to sit up front, but this actually worked out in his favor. For some reason Spencer really took a liking to the bus driver. The two would talk during the ride to school home. Most of the conversation was Spencer asking her questions like, "What are you going to eat for lunch? Where are you going to sit? Is your car green or red? Did you make your lunch? Then what did you eat for lunch? Where did you eat it?" He did however have 2 more accidents. The bus driver could smell and asked him if he wet himself, to which he replied, "It wasn't me." The second time they were having their usual conversation when he blurted out, "I'm peeing right now." Spencer liked bugs. The last time my father heard about Spencer, he was getting to know the Latin names of certain insects. This wasn't something you could just ask him about though, because Spencer thought you were judging him and he would get the names wrong. He never did, and he knew around 26 Latin names to different bugs. And there was a hair-eating period. He would out a single hair and eat it. Story 27. I used to work as an office monitor in the 8th grade, and while picking up referral forms, what was used to write people up, there were 2 that caught my one: a kid who popped a Viagra and started jerking it in class. When the teacher saw him and asked him to stop, he refused and kept going. Two kids got caught in the bathroom. A dude was getting head from a girl in a stall. What's weird is that the kids in 2 got expelled, but a dude I knew who got blown in the back of the bus a year earlier, and the girl who blew him just got suspended. not expelled. Story 28. I had a friend in high school who got expelled, later reinstated because a girl said that he threatened her, and then later changed her story to she felt threatened by him. This girl would sit behind him in class and accuse his father of cheating on his mom and being a terrible person for basically no reason. She had this little loser minion who followed her around and basically did whatever she said. Pretty sure the guy was in love with her. So anyway, after like 2 years of this, he tells her to shut the up, then he gets expelled. It was one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Story 29. I'm in high school currently, and last year a friend was expelled for writing a death threat to a teacher and also made a hit list. Nobody would have known it was him except he dropped it in the hall and a teacher picked it up and read it. I'm glad he got caught. Also, a couple got caught having in the bathroom when a teacher walked in. Why did a teacher walk in? They were using a teachers-only bathroom. After getting suspended, the guy threatened to shoot up the school. Yeah, he's gone now.